We have three of our directors. It is 6 o'clock. We have Emma here somewhere. So we'll call the meeting to order for Soquel Creek Water District for June 15th, 2021. Emma, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Director Daniels,
I'm here.
Vice President LaHue,
Here.
Director Jaffe,
Here.
Director
Okay.
Christensen,
Here.
and President Lather is absent.
Okay. So we are going to be going into closed session and we'll be coming back to the public portion of the meeting at 6:40. Is there anyone that we have that wants to make comment on the closed session?
We
Yes.
have one public comment.
Okay. Start the timer and
Hold on. I have to switch screens now. Okay.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbrunner. Can you hear me?
yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Thank you. Good evening. I again want to ask that the board consider conducting a subsequent EIR on the Pure Water Soquel project modifications. Those modifications are significant, and there were no mitigations discussed at all in the main EIR for the project. That the notice of determination made reference to address any of the changes in the modified project, notably the new treatment facility, the NBAF treatment facility, and the change in the toxic quality of the effluent that will be going 4 miles through the pipeline under pressure, crossing under the San Lorenzo River, as I understand it, unless the project has changed again, and crossing many streams. Chloramine is not volatile, and if there are leaks in the pipeline, how would those be detected quickly? I have seen no mitigations at all for that, and if chloramine leaks into the San Lorenzo River or any other riparian area, it is toxic to all aquatic life. You are biologists, you are scientists, and you care just as much as I do about our beautiful environment. And I hope that you will see that it is important that these issues are addressed and mitigated. And I'm not seeing any work toward that end at all. So I'm asking you to please take that action. Thank you.
Okay. Any more public comment?
There is
No.
not.
Okay. Lots of inaccuracies in those statements, but we will move on and go to closed session and be back at 6:40. Who have we got here? I see Carla is here. Bruce Daniels and no Bruce Jaffe at the moment. Give him one more minute maybe and then we'll start. There he is. Okay, good. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. It's 6:40. We can continue on. There is no public hearing tonight. So the next item is if any board members wish to remove items from the consent agenda. Bruce Daniels, do you have any?
None for me.
Carla?
No, I don't have any.
And Bruce Jaffe?
None for me.
And none for me. So there was a request for public comment on the consent agenda. So that would be just for 4.0
Mhm.
Correct.
minutes.
Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a comment on consent agenda item 4.1, the minutes. Mr. Joe Serrano, Director of Santa Cruz County LAFCO, did join that discussion regarding item 7.1.2, but it is not noted in the minutes, and I think it should be, given the topic. So I ask that that correction be made. I also note in item 4.2 on page 15, the production, that the greatest amount of production has come from the Aromas aquifer. And I wonder about that because in the monitoring wells, it shows that the Aromas aquifer wells have the highest problem with chloride. So I would like some discussion about why the increase in production has come primarily from the Aromas aquifer. In looking on page 15, it shows of the increase, roughly 11 of the 12 acre feet increased production have come from the Aromas aquifer. I also wonder, does this reflect the well development for Monterey well as well as the Twin Lakes Church well for the Pure Water Soquel project? That needs to be, I feel, set aside and directly allocated for well production. The Twin Lakes Church well development required 18 acre feet when it was first made. It's been rehabilitated again. So those numbers are not transparent, but should be. Finally, I did write your board about this, item 4.3, requesting.
Okay. No other public members requested to speak. So any discussion from the board or motions on the consent agenda?
Dr. LeHue, this is Ron. If I may make a comment.
Yeah.
I just want to note, no need to pull it, but in the management report, we discussed the SWIC loan at 0.85%, and that should be 1.1%. So I just want to note that. Thank you.
I think at one time, they thought we'd be able to get down to 0.85, but then it ended up still being lower than what we originally thought. So 1.1 is pretty good.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you.
And this is Emma. I'd also like to note that on page 7 in the board packet, there's a statement in the minutes noting that Joe Serrano spoke on item 7.1.2.
Great. Good job. So any other board member thoughts, questions, or motions?
I'll make the motion to approve the items, consent
I will
items.
second.
Okay. Moved by Bruce Jaffe, seconded by Bruce Daniels. Emma, roll call, please.
Director Daniels,
Yes,
Vice President LeHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Leather is absent.
Okay. Great. So next is oral and written communications on items not on tonight's agenda. So I'm going to make the assumption that we have a public comment on this one.
We do. We have one.
Okay.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Olin, thank you for noting on page 7 Mr. Serrano's presence, but that's not correctly noted how it really was. The minutes say that Mr. Dufour noted that Joe Serrano was available. Mr. Serrano himself came on the line and talked and said of his own availability. So I think it's not quite accurate the way that it is in the minutes, but I appreciate your bringing that to the board's attention. I want to request that in future minutes, the general topics of public comment be just noted. I think that adds to your transparency, given the fact that the video for your last meeting is not available on the website. So members of the public have no idea what the one public comment was about. And I think it's pertinent to do that in the public comment because that is about anything not on the agenda. And it is the public's right to know what was discussed. It's pretty much not transparent right now about that unless the videos are put up more quickly. I would like to bring to your board's attention and the public's attention that the Santa Cruz City Water Department's EIR regarding the expanded water rights project is now available and open to the public. And I think that's a very interesting document. They'll also be having some public meetings, and I urge the public to participate in those and read this very critical document. It's been a long time coming and has some good promise for regional water management in our area. I did participate in the direct potable reuse webinars and found them to be excellent as well. And I understand the difference between direct potable reuse and indirect potable reuse, which is what your district's Pure Water Soquel project is. It's indirect potable reuse. But the principles are the same and as critical. What caught me most poignant about the DPR is that there needs to be redundancy and quick response time to any changes in conditions. Just because you're injecting the recycled water into the ground and it will be diluted does not absolve the need for that quick response in spikes of contamination in the effluent or other changes. Finally, I want to bring out to you the very unfortunate crane accident that I witnessed on Soquel Avenue frontage road. I did send your board photographs, and I asked that you...
Okay. And no other public comment? Any board members? Oral communication? Bruce Daniels?
None for me.
Okay. I forget who's next, but Carla?
Well, I just like to note in that somebody we all knew, Catherine Sweet. She was
Oh, yeah.
the founder of Save Soquel. Sorry, I got the things mixed up, and was a community activist on water, especially was one of the pivotal people in opposing a building of a dam high up on Glenhaven Road up there. Just because of the earthquake risk, that was a project possible water solution that didn't really pan out for a number of different reasons, but she was a factor in calling for a more serious review in that. And she's also one of the first women candidates for the board, but she passed just last weekend, and it was just a really expected, but mourned. I think there are a lot of people who are customers who know her and appreciate some of her community activities.
Thanks, Carla. Bruce Jaffe, anything?
Nothing.
Okay. I just wanted to point out, I can't help myself, but that we talked quite a bit when we first were looking at indirect potable reuse, and we wanted to all make sure that there were safeties and there was redundancy and an ability to make a response before any water went into the pipes. So just, just to know that we're aware of that. Okay, next would be District Council oral report.
Thank before I get started with my report, I just wanted to note that I apologize. I neglected to report out a closed session. So I just wanted to report for the record that there's no reportable action. And I appreciate Emma for reminding me. And then on my report, I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the governor's reopening, as well as some of the executive orders that have been issued in the past week. So today is the day of the official reopening. In anticipation of that, the governor actually issued a number of executive orders on Friday. In part, those executive orders gave us a anticipated end date for the current Brown Act rules that allow us to operate completely remotely. And under the governor's executive order, those portions of the Brown Act, which allow us to meet completely remotely, will end September 30th. Going forward after that date, it doesn't mean that we can't have teleconference or video conference meetings, but we will need to have a physical location where members of the public can attend. And in addition, any remote location that a director attends from will need to be listed on the agenda and accessible to the public. Given how quickly this has all come out, we're still working as staff on options moving forward, but more information will be provided to the board as it's available, as well as some options for that transition back to in-person meetings. In addition, masks as it relates to workers and employees remains something that we're watching very closely. And I know Tracy is especially. There's been a number of not conflicting, but initial guidance that was issued by Cal OSHA and then withdrawn. But Cal OSHA is now considering updated guidance on Thursday. And assuming that guidance is approved, the governor has indicated he will issue an executive order to make it effective immediately, as opposed to the normal time lag we'd have for these types of rulemakings. I know Tracy's, as I mentioned, monitoring it very closely, and we'll make sure we remain in compliance, assuming that's the direction that Cal OSHA wishes to move forward with. That was what I would hope to report on this evening, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions? No?
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks. Let's see, we will move on to, there are no conditional and unconditional will serve. So item 7.2, the Urban Water Management Plan 2020.
Thank you. Good evening, board. This item is to request the board adopt the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan that's included as attachment 2 of the memo, and that the board also separately adopt Section 8 of the 2020 UMP, which is the Water Shortage Contingency Plan. The separate adoption allows for any needed changes to the contingency plan to be made more easily without having to open up the whole urban water management plan. And as you know, staff has been working on the 2020 UMP for the better part of the last year, and we've been bringing key sections to the board and to the public for input. And we think that we have a really good document now that incorporates a lot of discussions and good outcomes. And we're ready to move ahead with the adoption of it if the board is. The work culminated in a public hearing of the draft in May. And at that time, you directed staff to make some changes and bring it back for adoption prior to the July 1st, 2021 deadline. The final version before you tonight includes those board directed changes from the public hearing, in addition to some other mostly non-substantive changes. And those include some typos and clarifications that were identified through subsequent reviews by staff. We added some photos to kind of make it more interesting and really tell the story of our district. We did remove table 4.2, which pertained to water loss, and that was data that was collected in a different manner than the state required water loss audits, which we felt was better representation. So we took out the duplicative info. And also there was one error in table or figure 7.1. There was a data point for, I think it was monthly production, and that was incorrect. And so we caught that, and that's been changed. We did also do a thorough check of the document to make sure that that mistake didn't get carried on to other sections. So the changes that were made are shown in the track changes version that we did include as attachment 1, if you wanted to take a look at those and really get an idea for what was changed. The version with the appendices is not included, but that can be found on our website. There's just a lot of appendices are really large, including the Mid-County Groundwater Sustainability Plan and other documents that are really extensive. So we didn't include that in these versions tonight. And with that, the possible board motions are to adopt the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan, included as attachment 2 as is, or with any additional board directed revisions. And that adoption would be through resolution 21-10. And then secondly, file that plan by July 1st, 2021, and adopt the water shortage contingency plan included as attachment 4 separately through resolution 2111, and also file that with the DWR, Department of Water Resources, by the July 1st deadline. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the final versions of these documents or the resolutions.
Thank you, Shelley, for all your hard work, and Melissa and the whole team. So all the people who worked on that. So thank you. We'll take public comment and then we'll do board discussion.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. This is a large document and I cannot download it on my computer at home. So I request that a hard copy of it, including the appendices, be provided to the public at the brand new Capitola Library that will be, I think it's only open virtually for tours now, but should be opening today or tomorrow. And I would like to have a hard copy available there. Your office is closed, so that's not an option. The Aptos Library is now also closed. So please provide that to the public in a hard copy at the Capitola Library. I have a question about why the water loss figures were taken out. I think that's important information. I understand it was collected in a different way and reported in a different way, but somewhere it needs to be provided. If you can please help me see where it is provided, I would appreciate that. On page 64, it says that your customer per capita gallon use per day is 77 gallons. And I questioned this before when your board was reviewing it. On your production report in this board meeting on page 14, it says your customers per capita gallon use is 56 gallons per day. So I think there needs to be some clarification there between those two different numbers. I am happy to see the information about the lower income households in your district, and I'm still wondering how your district is going to provide relief for those low income households who are really, really struggling now to pay their very high water bills.
Thank you, Ms. Steinbruner. Your time is up.
All right. We'll bring it back to board for questions or discussion. Bruce Daniels.
Yes, on page 108, or 7-11. I see these two bar graphs. They're both labeled demand acre feet per year. They have different colors, which is kind of confusing, but they look pretty much, except for the typo, which was already mentioned, they look pretty similar. So what's the difference between those two?
I had the same question.
And this is on page 7, so
711.
It's,
Okay,
it's
so-
page 108 of the packet.
Right.
okay.
Or
Can you go back
7-11 of the report.
the prior, I don't see any
There they come.
figure, okay, 7-1. So,
Go up one more page. No, wrong way.
Is this the track changes
That one.
version?
Yes.
yeah, that's the problem is attachment 1 is the track changes version. And so one of these was the former chart and the other one was the new chart that got added or the
Oh.
So
corrected.
one of these will disappear then.
Yeah, so if you look at that same page in attachment 2, you should just see the one single
Okay.
document.
All right, that's good. The other thing I was going to point out is the very next page, which is 109, is completely empty. And it's not like it's the end of a paragraph or section or whatever. It's just between one page and the next page. So
Yeah, I
it
think
continues
that
on.
is probably just a formatting thing and track changes. And I would imagine if we go to the same page in attachment 2, we will see that
I got it.
there's only a single figure and that there's not just a blank page. Sometimes there's blank pages in documents for printing purposes, depending upon where the section ends and the new section starts.
But I've
And
noticed several cases where there are blank pages within a section where it probably shouldn't be. It's not at the end of a section, so it's just a blank page in the middle. So
Yeah.
And might be the case in attachment 1, but you shouldn't see that in attachment 2, which is the final clean version with all of the track changes incorporated.
okay, thank you.
And I,
Also, I was going to ask, it mentions that the average rainfall is, I forget what, 28 or 27 inches. And I've been here for 20 years and it's always been something like 31. So I was wondering where this new number is coming from.
I can chime in on that a little bit. They use the CIMIS station, our consultant did for the purposes of this plan. But then the numbers that we use internally for shortage stage declaration or just to keep track of, sometimes we'll use the NOAA station. So the numbers don't always perfectly line up based on where those stations are located.
Yep, definitely. Okay. All right. I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Carla? Carla, do you have any questions?
I don't have anything. On this iteration, I think we've hashed through all of my concerns in previous discussions.
Hi, Bruce Jaffe.
Same boat as Carla. We've seen this document several times before, so no additional questions.
Okay, and I want to just say that it did make it so much easier to get these sections a little at a time, over the months leading as you guys developed them, and so that it wasn't like an overwhelming amount of information at once. So thank you for doing that. I think that was helpful for all of us. Okay, any motions then?
I'll make all 4 motions.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes,
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lathers absent.
Okay, great. Thank you again, you guys.
Thank you.
Nice job. Nice job.
yeah, thank you. Monumental task. Well done.
And I appreciated the discussions we had in the previous meetings about it.
Well, you
So I
guys,
appreciate your efforts on that too.
item 7.3 is basically just the water shortage oh, no, never mind. It's based on that, but it's like now we have to decide what to do for this year. So Shelley, do you have this one too?
Alyssa's going to be presenting on this item.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, can I go ahead and get started?
You betcha.
All right. So like you said, 7.3, it relies on that newly adopted 2020 water shortage contingency plan, so that the board can declare a water shortage stage that's effective for the remainder of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. So the need for a shortage stage declaration and curtailment target is evaluated once a year based on the assessment of our current water supply. And if the supply availability is not expected to be adequate to cover both customer demands and the environmental needs of the groundwater basin, a water shortage stage can be declared. And so cumulative rainfall totals for the last 5 years and groundwater conditions are used as trigger conditions. We usually do this analysis a bit earlier in April or May, but we waited in order to get the 2020 water shortage contingency plan adopted. We are currently in a stage 3 water shortage emergency, which is a 25% curtailment over 2013 demand, and have been in a stage 3 due to groundwater emergency and low rainfall years since 2014. And so now I'll just briefly go over the yearly assessment of those two major trigger conditions, the rainfall and groundwater. And so our rainfall for the last weather year was, which is October 1st to March 31st, was much lower than average. It was only about 60% of our normal expected rainfall. And the last 3 of the last 5 years have had lower than normal rainfall. And so based on the estimated amount of groundwater recharge through rainfall, the cumulative rainfall total put us in a stage 2 water shortage per the contingency plan. And we were very close to meeting the criteria for a stage 3 based on a cumulative 4-year rainfall totals. And for groundwater conditions, we used the analysis from the 2020 Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Basin Annual Report and confirmed with Cameron Tana from Montgomery and Associates. Data taken from representative monitoring points is intended to give us a good idea of the extent of groundwater level change and seawater intrusion in our service area. And so if a representative monitoring point has an undesirable result, like lowered groundwater elevation or high chloride concentration, this triggers at least a stage 3 water shortage emergency in the 2020 water shortage contingency plan, because it serves as an indication that groundwater elevations are not adequate to be protective of the district's supply. And currently there are 7 representative monitoring points that are showing undesirable results. So this is similar to last year and doesn't represent a worsening of overdraft and seawater intrusion over the past year. However, based on the contingency plan and the number of monitoring points with those undesirable results, the district would fall into a stage 3 water shortage. So based on this information, staff recommends that the board continue the current stage 3 water shortage declaration without emergency rates for the remainder of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. And it would be reassessed in April of next year. And so this stage has a curtailment target of 25% over a baseline of 2,900 acre feet. And so for residential customers, this equates to a daily use target of about 50 gallons per capita per day. And that's it. So I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll have some public comment first.
Ms. Steinbrenner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a question about the 25% curtailment. As was reported, the district has been in stage 3 emergency mode since 2014. So when every year customers are asked to curtail by 25% water use, does that mean 25% over what they used last year or 25% over what they used in 2014? I think that needs to be made clear. I think people are doing a great job conserving, and you've given them good praise for doing so. But does this mean then that they have to cut back by 25% again? So I would like some clarification about that. On page 319, it talks about proactive procedures being taken for one of the monitoring wells that dropped below groundwater levels, SC-8RB. I looked that up on your map. Thank you for including that as an attachment. When were these actions taken? That's a new monitoring well. I haven't seen that before. On the map, it shows it's very close to the mouth of Aptos Creek, but it's a very general map and hard to read. Where is SC-8RB, and when did these actions take place, and what were the levels that caused these actions to be taken? If you could please respond to my questions, I would very much appreciate it. Otherwise, I guess I'll have to file a Public Records Act request. Thank you.
Okay. And any, we'll go through questions or discussion from board members. Bruce, do you have any questions? Bruce Daniels?
I have some, not questions, but I got some points I would like to talk about. Is that all right now?
Yeah, that's great.
On the bottom of page 316, it talks, there's a sentence that says, this 2021 analysis focuses on supply shortage related to groundwater conditions and lack of groundwater recharge due to drought. Well, that's all good, and I actually wish that we had things set with groundwater recharge, but actually most of our conditions here are just about rainfall, and there's a big difference between rainfall and recharge. For example, if you remember, there was a graph that our consultants put together for us about rainfall and recharge, and it was a kind of exponential graph, and when you got below a certain amount, which is about 20 inches, there was essentially zero recharge, and we are definitely below 20 inches. So it means that this year, actually, rather than talking about a shortage of rainfall, it's really zero recharge. So that would, by itself would put us way above this category 6. It put us at 100% of offset. And I think that's a big issue. So I would hope that maybe in some years in the future, we actually would talk about recharge and not about rainfall totals. And it's very easy to do. You simply find the rainfall amount on that graph, and you go up and see what the recharge number is. And so it's not any more complicated, but it's actually giving you more information about exactly what's happening to our groundwater in those various conditions. And in the future, we may get more of these years of very low rainfall and essentially zero recharge. And so I think we need to take that into consideration actively. That's also going to be an issue, I think, for our pure water, and it's that, we're going to have 1,500 acre feet of new supply, but if we're getting zero recharge, that 1,500 acre feet isn't going to be enough to get us out of the jail. It'll still be a problem. So I think we need to think about that.
Okay. Carla?
Just to follow up on that too, and also on Ms. Steinbrenner's comments, clearly if the we've been reducing water consumption by 25% from 2014, we would be consuming no water. So it's really, the stage 3 is a continuation of a policy that was established with the drought and also with our lack of a supplemental water source. So we're still in that position, but I have to concur with Bruce Daniels too about my concern about the lack of recharge and the great unknown about how much water is in our aquifer, which we, we'll never be absolutely clear on, but we can be worried about the lack of recharge. And I agree with that, but I would, the 25% is, I think, still a reasonable, moderate approach to what our water anxiety is at this point. Maybe I should call it that. And we've discussed in the past drought years that going up to stage 4, and that may be too much of a hardship right now for some people. So, especially in the middle of summer. So, but I would like to hear some other comments on that. Yeah.
I'll comment on that. It's not just a percentage decrease that's recommended. When you start getting into the higher stages, there are actually actions, enforceable actions. And so I've in the past, and I still think that the stage 3 is appropriate. It's an emergency. As Alyssa noted, there were 7 representative monitoring points that indicated that there are issues. And although there's not direct evidence from that data that seawater intrusion is getting worse, I'm not sure that the data can say whether it's getting worse, getting better, or staying the same, just because the monitoring network is so sparse. But I do want to comment again about the public comment about the 25% decrease. That's or 25% curtailment. It's very clear in the document, page 316. It says 25% curtailment over 2013 demand. So it's not cumulative. It's just over that demand in 2013. So yeah, I'm supportive of keeping a stage 3 shortage level.
Thank you, Bruce. My only thoughts are just how far we've come from every year kind of doing the same kind of decision making that Santa Cruz was making based on just the current year's rain. So we were really trying to make decisions for our district on surface water. And then we added rainfall amounts that were correlated to amount of recharge, not, maybe as specifically as we could have, but then now we've come a long way. At least we have some that actually we don't know as much as we'd like to know about groundwater levels, but we sure know a lot more than we did. And with modeling and with monitoring, with protective levels established and chloride levels established, I think we've come a long way. So, but anyway, I'm supportive of the stage 3 as well for right now. So any motions on this? There are 2 motions.
I'll make the motion.
No, 1 motion. There's just one. You got to choose.
Motion. First motion, continue stage 3 water shortage emergency with no emergency rates under resolution 19-08.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes, indeed.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
And President Lather is absent.
Okay. Now that is all the decision making we have. We have now an informational item. And is this, Ron, is this yours or Melanie?
No, Melanie's going to kick us off, and I will chime in. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm going to just briefly talk on item 7.4. We put this item into the board packet when Ron was on vacation. I think he also asked me to introduce it since I'd worked on the groundwater management plan when it was voluntary with EB 3030 and seeing the evolution. I think this is a great moment for our region as well as for Soquel Creek Water District. So yes, this is an informational item. We wanted to put this item into the board packet to let everybody know that the groundwater sustainability plan that was submitted through the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency has been accepted and approved by the state. As written in the memo, we are one of 2 GSPs that were approved. What's interesting and exciting is that they approved 2. They approved ours as well as the one down in Monterey County. Ours is actually a full basin. Ours is basin 3001. And the other GSP that was approved was for the 184, I think it's the 180 400 sub-basin, basin 3004.01. So just kind of wanted to take a moment, pause, let you guys know that this has been approved. It's been a long time coming. We're very excited to see the evolution of the GSA, very proud of the work that our board members have done in terms of presiding and representing Soquel Creek Water District, of working with the state, of getting the information out there into a plan that is being used as a role model for other GSAs who are putting plans together or who are needing to edit submitted plans to be able to use ours as a tool. Some things to note, the state did issue their own press release. They put information into their Sigma portal. They have a fact sheet that addresses kind of their evaluation on the GSPs. They also are holding a live question and answer, and that information, as shown on the screen, is all included in the board packet and the board memo. The County of Santa Cruz also issued a press release on behalf of the MGA. It is accessible by going on to the Santa Cruz County press release website if you'd like to see it. It's well written. It was done by Sierra and the county, and we'll go ahead and provide that link, and I think they'll probably put that on the MGA website. I think Ron wants to say a few words, and then I think we also would like to take a moment. The video that is produced is about a 9-minute video. I know we would love to show the whole thing. It's kind of long, so I think Becca is going to try to show some excerpts of it, and hopefully the sound will work. But Ron, did you want to speak before or after we do those videos?
Go ahead and give the videos a shot, and then I'd like to say a few words.
Okay.
Do we want to have, before you show it, do we need to have public comment?
Maybe show it first, and that'll kind of conclude our staff.
My name is.
I had the sound.
Yeah, it sounds good, Becca.
Okay, we're going to do the video first before public comment.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, now.
My colleague, Craig Alt.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Stephen Springhorn, Acting Deputy Director of Statewide Groundwater Management at the California Department of Water Resources. I'm here today along with my colleague, Craig Altair, and we would like to provide information on 3 new developments. First, DWR's release of the first Groundwater Sustainability Plan assessments under the state's Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA. Second, the current landscape of groundwater and our current drought conditions. And finally, recent efforts to advance the development of principles around groundwater management and drinking water well impacts. Today marks a major milestone in our collective work implementing SGMA. We at DWR are releasing the first assessments of groundwater sustainability plans. These initial assessments are being released ahead of the statutory deadline in an effort to continue our communication on these assessments, Our aim is to provide clear feedback to the local groundwater sustainability agencies and remaining members of the SGMA community. Arriving at this SGMA milestone represents a significant amount of work done by local agencies to develop plans, countless hours that the broader SGMA community has spent participating and providing input on those plans, and the review and evaluation of thousands of pages of plan content by the state. Additional details on these first plan assessments are the focus of today's discussion. However, before we cover that topic, I wanted to first acknowledge the drought conditions we're experiencing today. These remind us of just how important groundwater is to our state. California's groundwater touches all types of uses and industries. Groundwater supports our natural environment, agriculture, economy, and drinking water, with 85% of Californians relying on groundwater for some portion of their drinking water supply. SGMA was born out of the last drought, and as we now find ourselves back in drought conditions, the hard work from the last 6 years of SGMA implementation is already paying dividends. As an example, over 260 GSAs have formed and almost 50 GSPs have been developed and are being implemented for the critically overdrafted basins. These have been submitted to DWR for review and assessment. Another 70 to 90 plans are being developed now, and local agencies will begin implementing them in the next 6 months. A lot has been done, however, we know that much more work remains because SGMA is a massive new initiative that is advancing our collective knowledge and filling the long-term management gaps that have existed in California. For over 100 years,
To shorten up the 9 minutes, we're just showing little segments.
About 4 of these segments.
groundwater resources in our variable climate requires thoughtful solutions. The administration's water resilience portfolio recognizes and calls for the continued commitment to implementing SGMA in Action 3.1, and there are many other complementary actions that help the state advance statewide groundwater management for more resilient water resources. Under SGMA, there are both near-term milestones, such as the assessments being released today, and long-term actions that need to translate into measurable progress under the law's 20-year planning horizon. This will help locals adaptively manage and continue improving and updating plans to reach sustainability goals in their basins. Managing California's groundwater sustainably is critical to our state. Altair.
Hello, my name is Craig Altair and I'm the manager for DWR's Groundwater Sustainability Plan Review Program. One of DWR's primary roles in the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, is to review locally developed plans to make sure they comply with the law and regulations. Today, I will walk through the decision pathways for our review and discuss the first assessments that have recently been released. DWR has 3 possible regulatory outcomes for groundwater sustainability plans, or GSPs: approved, incomplete, and inadequate. Approved plans are the ones that comply with the law and regulations and that demonstrate a clear path to achieving sustainability. These plans will not be perfect, and DWR will recommend certain corrective actions that the groundwater sustainability agencies, or GSAs, should address early in implementation. GSAs in basins with approved plans, particularly basins that were critically overdrafted before SGMA, still have a lot of work to do to implement their plans over the next 20 years and to show that they are making progress toward their goals. Next, incomplete plans are those with 1 or more deficiencies that preclude DWR's approval. After consulting with agencies that develop these plans, DWR can give up to 180 days for the deficiencies to be addressed. Finally, if the local agency cannot address the deficiencies within that period, or if the initial GSP had deficiencies that could not be addressed in 180 days, DWR can determine groundwater sustainability plans to be inadequate. We recently completed our assessment of plans for the Santa Cruz Mid-County Basin and the 180 400-foot aquifer subbasin and determined that those plans are approved. GSAs in those basins will continue implementing their plans to achieve SGMA's goal of groundwater sustainability within 20 years. Additionally, we have notified GSAs in the Cuyama Valley Basin and the Paso Robles subbasin that their plans lack specific details that may preclude DWR's approval. We will consult with these GSAs to discuss corrective actions they will need to make to improve their plans. This initial release should make it clear that DWR takes seriously its role to ensure the GSAs have followed the regulatory process, including identifying the effects of groundwater management on the interests of beneficial uses and users of groundwater.
Stands ready to carry out our decision-making role and continue providing technical, planning, and financial assistance to locals implementing SGMA. These links provide more information on DWR's assistance and the plan assessments. If you have SGMA questions, please email us at sgmps@water.ca.gov. We look forward to our continued work implementing SGMA and hearing from you at the live Q&A on June 24th. Hello, my name is...
Thank you, Becca, for noting those times. Yeah, I know you're gonna take public comment and then I'll chime in if I may.
Yeah, let's take public comment.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I only have audio, so I look forward to maybe from a public library somewhere watching the presentation. I would have a much different choice of music. But congratulations. I think this is great news. I have read the announcements and saw that it was largely predicated upon the Pure Water Soquel project's existence coming into fruition in the near future. I do hope that some of the very real risks inherent with that project are timely addressed if it is going to continue to be built. I hope that the crane accident that happened is not a harbinger of things to come. And I hope that the Mid-County Groundwater Agency will work with the state to get another AEM helicopter analysis of the status of the seawater, freshwater, saltwater layer, where that is now. What happened in 2017 was a snapshot. We need information now to really get a better idea, and I hope that that will be pursued with all vigor by the Mid-County Groundwater Agency. Thank you.
Okay. Ron, I think you have a few comments, and I just also want to thank all the work that was done getting to this point, because I know Bruce Jaffe not only served on the groundwater sustainability plan, I think Bruce Daniels, you did too, that committee to develop that, but then all of us who worked like years ago for groundwater management to get to this point. So in all the various meetings over this last couple decades. So thanks. Ron.
Yeah, I sort of want to echo that, but you know, DWR staff reached out to me before the press release. They couldn't reach Sierra, I believe, and I was kind of caught off guard. You know, they brought in the people that you saw, and they were just so genuine and serious about what we had done, the appreciation for the hard work, the accomplishment and everything. It was the first time I'd ever, it was kind of emotional, the way they talked and their appreciation and recognition of what this Mid-County Groundwater Agency has accomplished, and very proud, I think, of that. And it just took me back, and I was like, wow, this is a moment I just need to absorb. So I kind of wanted to share that with you and kind of spread that. But I also wanted to recognize each of you, because I remember the early days. Dr. Jaffe can probably remember just trying to figure out what was going on. Melanie was part of that. She almost kind of like led that early initial effort because she had been involved at the very beginning. And then several committees, I think the board, Carla, I know you were on a committee or two, and you may have attended as many meetings as anybody, sometimes in the audience, and your thoughtful comment, but just being there and then being able to provide input later. Dr. Daniels, Dr. LaHue, I mean, both of you, you know, you've been on the board, I think at least one of you throughout the entire thing. And that effort of just grappling with what to do, being the first out the gate, even though there were some guidelines, it was not totally clear. But then getting beyond the technical, the collaboration with the other agencies when I saw y'all doing that, it just made me proud to be part of this organization, to be able to, way you guys showed the leadership to work with the other organizations. And that is what separates successful GSAs, MGAs, GSPs from others, I believe, that ability right there. So, and, while I may be an organizational excellence nerd kind of guy, that sort of thing, in my core, I kind of have a hydrology component of me. I don't think that'll ever leave. And so to be part of this, I mean, that's just a big bonus gift right there for me. I couldn't ask for more. So from my heart, thank all of y'all.
All right. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all of you who really sat and ground through all those meetings, Bruce Jaffe, Bruce Daniels, and you, Tom, too, and Ron Duncan, who was at the meetings all the time. And it was all the meetings that I observed, there was just a level of civility, communication, and professionalism that really, I think, will set the standard for our county, I hope. It just really, it was good to see. And it wasn't really surprising that our GSP would be accepted like so quickly. That was, I think, without changes. It really is, it's a testament to all the work that everyone put into it, though.
Thanks, Carla. Anybody else?
Yeah, just a really good team effort, and proud that our district was a leader in this, and that we worked so well with the other players who pump from the basin. And just for clarification, so this is the first GSP accepted. I think we should highlight that. I think that should be on our web pages.
First complete basin. The other one is a sub basin because it's a layer of a basin.
Yeah.
First complete basin in the state.
In the state.
State, yeah.
All but mighty. Yeah, but I remember those meetings. Before there was even a Groundwater Sustainability Act, we were already meeting.
Sure.
With all of the players, all the county and the city, I mean, and Central Water District and some private well owners. That we started early, so I think there was cooperation from the beginning. Yeah,
and that made it easier. The big, and I forget all the acronyms.
Yeah, there were several acronyms.
The bag, I'm not sure.
Some of them, there was confusion. I can think of the private well owners being at one, where there was some confusion and acrimony, but it was handled very well. And I think everyone eventually left with an understanding of what was at stake, and really quite a lot of growth. This whole process, it reflects a huge amount of growth among our community too.
Yeah, and the fact that there's 3 private well owners representing the private well owner interests as part of the MGA, I think that says a lot about cooperation.
There is an MGA meeting Thursday night, by the way.
Yes.
Bruce has something to say.
There's some things I'd like to bring up that I think point out how significant this is. One of the things is that even though they approve a plan, they can submit a lot of things that need to get changed. And there was only one change they list, which I think is relatively minor in my book, not a big thing at all. They did also repeat some of the things that we had in our plan, where we had talked about some of the things we'd like to add to it in the future, but that was there. The second thing is that there were well over 100, I think, fairly nasty comments that were submitted by some of the usual players around here, and those are not in the analysis at all. They were just dismissed and ignored, and they were happy with it. Of course, the fact that this got done early. I mean, this was very early for the commission to approve it, and so I think that speaks as well to how well done this was. So I think we all should be proud of it, that it happened, so smoothly and quickly.
All right. Well, it's a good note to end on, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Keep up the good work. We don't have another meeting, I don't think, for about 4 or 5 weeks. So
Darn.
we'll see you then.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Meeting is adjourned.